If Gen Z is too sensitive, then biology picked a very strange moment to show its honesty, because nothing about the world you grew up in is calm, predictable, or quiet. And yet, the story you hear over and over is that you are the fragile variable. You see it everywhere: too anxious, too soft, too easily overwhelmed. And eventually, the label doesn't even need to be said aloud. It hums in the background, like a refrigerator that's always running, faint, unnoticed, but impossible to ignore. It usually hits late at night. You're scrolling, half awake, body tired, but mind wide. Nothing catastrophic happened today. No emergency. And still, everything feels heavier than it should. Small decisions feel exhausting. The future feels unnaturally loud. Somewhere in that quiet tension, a thought forms. Why does this feel harder for me than it seems to for everyone else? That's when the label turns inward. Maybe something's wrong with me. But here's the thing psychology teaches us. When stress responses are mistaken for character flaws, your brain doesn't just feel pressure. It starts monitoring the pressure itself, layering judgment and shame on top. So before we talk about you, or Gen Z, there's a more important question. What kind of world trains a brain to react like this? For most of human history, stress arrived in bursts. Wars had beginnings and ends. Recessions ended. Even personal crises, a breakup, a job loss, eventually resolved themselves, giving your body a chance to calm down. Your nervous system could reset. Cortisol surged, heart rate spiked, and then ebbed. You survived, adapted, and healed. But you grew up in a world that never turns off. Climate anxiety, economic precarity, relentless social comparison, 24/7 news cycles. Stress didn't knock on your door. It became the walls, the air, the background hum. Imagine living inside a room where the lights flicker unpredictably all day and night. You know, there's no real danger, but your eyes never fully relax. Your body stays on edge even when your mind says, it's fine. This isn't weakness. It's biology interpreting a persistent environment accurately. Chronic exposure rewires baseline expectations. Vigilance becomes default. Tension becomes normal. That's why small tasks, minor decisions, even ordinary days feel heavier than they should. And this is only the first layer. Because when this constant stress hit during adolescence, identity formation, early adulthood, timing mattered as much as intensity. Your brain learned early that the world was unpredictable, and that lesson shapes every decision, every thought, every quiet moment. Timing isn't just a life skill, it's biology. Your brain isn't a passive processor. It's a student and teacher at once, learning lessons most effectively at certain developmental stages. Identity and emotional regulation usually consolidate over adolescence and early adulthood. But Gen Z experienced chronic stress before those foundations were fully formed. Imagine learning to ride a bike on icy streets. Even when the road's clear, your muscles stay tense, your hands hover over the brakes, your eyes scan for invisible patches of ice. That's your nervous system after early stress. It learned to expect danger even when the environment becomes safe. Financial instability at home, relentless social comparison online, climate anxiety. Each stressor is like a patch of ice your brain memorizes, wiring constant vigilance as the default. This isn't pathology, it's adaptation. Your brain did exactly what it was designed to do. It prepared you to survive an unpredictable world. But every adaptation carries a cost. Decision-making feels heavy, emotions feel magnified, and even small social interactions require energy. You notice threats earlier, anticipate problems sooner, and carry mental load longer than someone who experienced episodic stress. So when you wonder, why am I like this? The answer isn't you're broken. It's, of course, it feels this hard. Early stress taught your brain that life demands constant readiness, and that readiness doesn't just shape your body, and it shapes your thoughts, your judgments, and the way you perceive risk itself, setting the stage for the cognitive weight we'll explore next. You notice things others might not. You know the language of mental health, social dynamics, and systemic risk, before some people even talk about them. You scroll social media and see patterns: economic uncertainty, climate disasters, social injustice, and you know the implications before anyone explains them. That meta-awareness is impressive, but it comes with a hidden cost. Knowing more doesn't always reduce anxiety. Sometimes it amplifies it. Picture this. You're watching storm clouds gather weeks in advance, seeing lightning flicker in the distance, but there's no shelter, no way to change course. Your mind runs simulations, flags dangers, anticipates outcomes, yet your ability to act is limited. You can't prevent a recession, solve climate change, or control how people behave, and your body still reacts as if you could. Heart rate rises, muscles tense, sleep fragments, subtle anxiety hums at the edges of every choice. Behavioral science calls this an unresolved cognitive loop. Your brain anticipates threats endlessly without closure. It's worse than ignorance because now you feel responsible for what's beyond your control. That's why a normal day can feel heavy, even when nothing catastrophic happens. This isn't weakness. It's your nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do: track patterns, stay alert, and anticipate risk. Awareness without control carries a cost: mental load, decision friction, constant subtle tension, and that weight doesn't vanish. It shapes motivation, perception, even the small moments of joy. Everything we've talked about comes with a price: constant vigilance, early stress, heightened awareness. They aren't free. You feel it in the small things: decisions that drag on, mental energy that drains faster than you expect, emotional overload that makes even brief social interactions feel heavy. Sometimes you step back, not because you don't care, but because engaging fully requires more energy than your system can give. Burnout isn't a flaw, it's a natural consequence of a brain wired to notice and respond to everything. But every cost has a counterweight. That heightened sensitivity allows you to see patterns others miss: subtle cues in people's behavior, ethical inconsistencies in organizations, injustices that many overlook. You refuse to normalize harm, and you notice the small cracks before they become collapses. That awareness, and painstaking, exhausting, sometimes isolating, is also a form of intelligence. Think of it like turning up the brightness on a screen. Details pop into view: textures, colors, imperfections, but your eyes strain. You see clearly, but it comes at a cost. That's your nervous system at work, accurate, attentive, and paying attention even when it hurts. This isn't about being special. It isn't about being broken. It's about being human in a world that demanded more from you than most brains were designed to handle. Recognition, not romanticization, is the point. The trade-offs are real, and understanding them is enough. And with that understanding, the labels, fragile, anxious, soft, begin to fall away, leaving only the quiet reality of what it means to experience life this way. Slow down. Let the pace ease. Think back to the label from the beginning: too sensitive, too anxious, too soft. That label feels smaller now, not because someone else said it was wrong, but because you've traced it to its source: a world that was never calm, predictable, or gentle. Your brain learned honestly from the environment it grew up in. It noticed patterns, calculated risks, stayed alert when it needed, even if that came with tension, restlessness, or nights when sleep refused to arrive. That strain isn't fragility. It's evidence that your perception was accurate for the world you navigated. It's like realizing a map was wrong, not your sense of direction. You followed it faithfully, but the terrain shifted beneath you. Understanding that subtly changes how you carry yourself. The questions, the shame, the "why am I like this?" they loosen. You can sit with it without needing to fix, perform, or improve. The truth is quietly simple. There's nothing to fix. You can recognize how your brain, your awareness, your lived experience shaped you without judgment. And in that recognition, there's a stillness, a calm acknowledgement of what it means to have grown up noticing more than most.